Imagine being deep behind enemy lines, your team bleeding out, no backup, no hope, until out of the smoke steps a woman you've never seen before, calm as death, rifle steady like an apex predator. You ask for her name. She looks you dead in the eyes and says in a voice colder than midnight, Ghost 7. Then, as suddenly as she appeared, she vanishes without a trace. Who was she? A soldier? A ghost? Or something the government never wanted you to know? Stick around, because this isn't just a story, it's a classified nightmare you were never supposed to hear. And before we dive in, hit that subscribe button so you never miss the stories they tried to erase from history. It started in the unforgiving mountains of Kunar Province, Afghanistan, where SEAL Team Viper 6 had been running a black operation. So far off the books it didn't even have a mission code, just a whispered name, Operation Silent Reaper. The objective was simple on paper: locate and extract an HVT, high-value target, suspected of financing a string of brutal insurgent attacks. But paper doesn't bleed. Reality did. Within 48 hours, the team was stranded, their exfil compromised, 2 men wounded, and the enemy closing in like wolves around broken prey. Commander Jack Hale, a battle-hardened SEAL with ice in his veins, knew they were screwed. Ammo low, comms down, night falling fast. And then, it happened. Out of the drifting smoke, a silhouette emerged. Slim, silent, not an enemy, not in uniform either. A woman, black tactical gear, face streaked with dust and blood, moving like she'd been born in war. The SEALs aimed rifles, barking, "Identify yourself!" She didn't flinch, didn't blink, just raised an M4 carbine and took down 3 insurgents in clean surgical bursts. When the last body hit the dirt, Jack growled, "Who the hell are you?" She turned those ice-cold gray eyes on him, and her lips parted to speak just one name, one that would burn itself into his brain forever. Ghost 7. Before he could ask more, mortar fire ripped the mountainside apart, and when the dust cleared, she was gone. The SEALs didn't believe what they saw. Men who had faced death 1,000 times were rattled to the bone. Hale's second-in-command, Ramirez, muttered, "That wasn't real. Had to be a hallucination." But hallucinations don't shoot like Delta operators and vanish without sound. Hours later, after crawling through hell itself to reach the extraction point, they found it swarming with insurgents. No way out, no air support, birds grounded by a sandstorm. Hale gritted his teeth, ready to make his last stand. Then a shot rang out from above. A head exploded. Then another and another. Ghost 7 was back, moving like smoke, firing. Like Death's shadow, picking enemies off with precision, Hale had only seen from Tier 0 snipers. She dropped into their perimeter, slapped fresh mags into their rifles like she owned the fight, and growled, "Move now." They didn't argue. They ran through a gauntlet of fire, led by a woman no one could track, no one could read. At the evac tunnel, Hale grabbed her arm. "Who sent you?" Her voice was flat, emotionless. "Nobody sent me." Before he could press further, an RPG slammed into the rocks. When the smoke cleared, she was gone again, vanished. No tracks, no thermal signature, just gone. Back at Bagram Airfield, the atmosphere inside the SEAL debriefing tent was heavier than the dust-choked air outside. The fluorescent lights flickered, and the smell of burnt cordite and dried blood clung to their uniforms like ghosts of the dead. Commander Jack Hale sat at the steel table, staring at the mission report template on the screen in front of him, his fingers frozen over the keyboard. Every fiber of his being screamed to type her name, Ghost 7. But he didn't. He couldn't. Ramirez walked in, limping, his leg bandaged and his face as pale as chalk. "You gonna tell him?" he asked quietly. Hale didn't look up. "Tell them what? That some phantom saved our asses? They'll ground us and put us in psych eval faster than you can say Section 8. Ramirez dropped into the chair across from him and leaned in, his voice sharp. Jack, she was real. I touched her. She gave me ammo. I heard her breathe. Hale's jaw clenched. We write this up as enemy ambush. Casualties taken, extraction successful. End of story. But it wasn't the end. Not by a long shot. Because just 3 weeks later, halfway across the world in the blistering deserts of Somalia, Ghost 7 appeared again. Viper 6 had been tasked with intercepting an arms convoy headed toward Mogadishu. Intel said 30 hostiles. Turned out to be 80. A full company armed to the teeth. The firefight was a slaughterhouse. Explosions painted the night in hellfire. Bullets chewed through the sand like swarms of hornets. Hale's ears rang, his M4 ran dry, and he thought, this is it. This is where I die. Then, just like before, death changed sides. A single suppressed shot cracked through the chaos. One hostile dropped, then another, then 10 more. Hale's eyes scanned the ridges through NVGs, and there she was, Ghost 7, moving like liquid shadow, cutting through enemy lines with surgical precision, her suppressed M4 whispering death in the dark. She vaulted over a truck, slid beneath incoming fire, and fired 2 rounds through the skulls of men Hale couldn't even see. When the last body hit the sand, silence fell like a tomb. Hale found her standing in the ruins, backlit by fire, face unreadable. He stormed toward her, grabbing her by the vest. "Enough!" he roared. "Who the hell are you?" For the first time, something flickered in her eyes. Not fear, not anger, something else, like sadness, buried deep. Her voice was low, almost broken. "You weren't supposed to see me." Hale's grip tightened. "What does that mean? Who sent you?" She just stared at him, then, without warning, smiled. A small, almost human smile that chilled him to the bone. And before Hale could react, she pulled a flashbang from her belt, dropped it at her feet, and vanished into a blinding storm of white light. When the smoke cleared, she was gone again, like she'd never existed. No tracks, no sound, no heat signature. Nothing but the hollow echo of her voice in Hale's head. "You weren't supposed to see me." Years bled by like slow poison, but Hale never stopped thinking about her. Ghost 7 haunted his nights, stalked his dreams, and lingered in the dark corners of his mind where no war ever ended. He retired eventually, a chest full of medals, a head full of nightmares, and a heart full of questions. Until one gray Virginia morning, a black SUV rolled up outside his suburban home. No plates, tinted windows. 2 men in black suits stepped out, the kind that scream alphabet agency. "Commander Hale?" one asked, flashing a badge he didn't really show. "Sir, we need you to come with us." Hale didn't argue. Old instincts told him this wasn't an invitation. It was an order. They drove him through rain-slick streets, to the Pentagon, down into the bowels where light doesn't reach and secrets don't sleep. A steel door opened to a room colder than the grave. Inside sat a general with a face carved from stone and eyes that had seen too much. He slid a manila folder across the table, stamped in red, "Eyes Only, Project Spectre." Hale opened it and froze. Photo after photo of her. Ghost 7. Grainy shots from missions Hale had never been on, files dated long before Kunar, and all marked deceased. "What is this?" Hale rasped, his throat dry. The general spoke slowly, each word heavy as a coffin nail. "She doesn't exist, never did. But she's saved more American lives than you'll ever know." Hale slammed the folder shut. "Cut the spook talk! What the hell was she?" The general leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper that carried more weight than a gun barrel. "Not what, Commander? Who, or who she used to be?" He told Hale everything, or as much as men like that ever do. Ghost 7 was part of a black program so buried it didn't even cast a shadow. Project Spectre. The goal? To create deniable assets. Perfect ghosts. No records, no families, no past, No future. 7 operatives selected for their skills, erased from existence, rebuilt into weapons that could vanish into the smoke of any battlefield. They called them ghosts. Hale stared at the general, his stomach twisting. "You're telling me she was one of yours?" The general's jaw tightened. "Was. Past tense. The Ghost program was terminated 13 years ago. All assets neutralized." Hale felt the blood drain from his face. "Then who the hell saved my team in Kunar? Who saved us in Somalia?" The general's eyes hardened, colder than winter steel. "We've been asking the same question." Silence swallowed the room, thick and suffocating. Hale left the Pentagon with that file burning a hole in his hands and one truth hammering in his skull. Ghost 7 wasn't dead. She was out there, watching, waiting, and maybe, just maybe, he'd see those gray eyes again. Or maybe she'd come for him next.